In education, I think teachers cancelling lectures, making it so that students can't hear ideas is one. And
Mm.
not only that, they're not even allowed to listen to the lecture in their own homes, in their free time on YouTube either. So, what are they going to do next? Go around their houses and confiscate books from their bedrooms?
Probably. I mean, dude, like
It's
it's
happened before.
yeah, it's getting pretty bad. Like I find myself, I'm a pretty average person. Like I hold no extreme views or anything like that. And every single day, without fail, I find myself tripping over words to find words that I think will get past the censors on a variety of websites and obviously YouTube and we never, we're very similar age. We never had this 15 years ago. Even 10 years ago, we didn't have this. So I don't know. Is it our generation that's now getting into power, and they're like, we're going to use everything that the sort of baby boomers and maybe the older Gen X people that were hippies, and because obviously I'd probably say it was the hippies that were the first mass marketed large group. I mean, I suppose you could call them mass marketed, that were really sort of against their own interests. You had America that was, it was a bad choice to go into Vietnam, and it was a wasteful war, and many people died. But the hippies that were spitting on these people when they came home were not out really for their own interest as a group. They have the most powerful country on earth, and still they're saying we don't have it good enough. We want it better. So I don't know. Like, is it our generation that's made a mistake because now we've come into power? That's into power.
Well, in the sense that luxury breeds complacency and ingratitude, I think you're right. You're onto something there. So if people have a very comfortable up and everything they want at the push of a button or the click of their fingers, then they lose gratitude for what they have. Even the poorest people today in America have got a standard of living that is greater than some of the richest people of the not too distant past.
Yeah,
So gratitude would be my first step to healing some of the people who are full of rage at the society around them and think it needs to be torn down. And it's interesting that resentment and guilt are the things that are mainly encouraged. You mentioned kids kneeling in playgrounds, ashamed of what their ancestors have done to other people's ancestors. That's a good example of it. Why
mm,
not be grateful instead for the fact that the British Empire is one of the most benevolent ones that's ever existed? Seeded the development of several advanced economies that would never have come to exist without it, and that it stopped the
absolutely.
slave trade.
But I just think that there were so many things that don't get taught that the British Empire, and obviously, like, I am going to be biased, but I just see, like I said before, I see other empires still empire building in 2022. And we handed our empire back, apologized, paid the tab, built an armada to patrol the coast where people were slaving from 190 years ago. Yeah, about 190 years ago. And somehow we're the bad people, but not our ancestors. You and I are the bad people, apparently. It's a difficult one, man. How do you talk about culture with your kids? Obviously, we have kids of I only know the age of a couple of your older ones, but similar age to my kids. And I just wondered if you've talked to them yet about culture. I kind of had to with my son because his school started saying that. So his auntie works for a charity in Africa. She gave up a job, a really good job in the UK to do that because she wanted to do good. And like 3 months later, he went into school, and in his one of his lessons, they were like, "White people should never be involved with African charities because it's disgusting and racist and all the rest of it." So I just wondered how you talk to your kids, if at all, about culture or politics or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the first step is find out what is happening in their schools. And then if they say, teacher X said Y and Z today, and you think, oh, that's I can see where they're coming from with that, but there's another side to that. Then that's a discussion to have on the dinner table or in the car on the way home from school, and then fill in the gaps. And it doesn't take much guesswork to find out what the fault lines are going to be. So go with the basics, whether it is differences between men and women and traditional culture roles, for example, in the family. Just talk about how things have been for the vast majority of human history in the vast majority of countries and cultures, and then put in perspective what they're being told in school as the new vision, and just say, well, what are the strengths of that? But to what extent do you think it's likely to work? Is it really the case that these things are infinitely flexible based on what we know all societies have coalesced around so far? So there's never been a large, successful, stable, non-monogamous society. So how likely is it that what some of the woke activists describe as a polymorphous society, where basically it's like a big commune where everyone can have sex with each other and children are raised not by the nuclear family, but by the whole village? How likely is that? Have you ever seen that working before? No. So maybe next time that's discussed, just start to ask some more questions about it.
Okay, that's good advice. And the other thing is, I had somebody speak to me today who, we're friends, but we have, well, very, very different views. And I wondered if you could answer something that he said to me, and I just politely said, we'll have to agree to disagree. He said, when I told him I was speaking to you, he said, guess an inside gossip on the leaders of our country, which obviously I don't expect. And then he said, those places, I assume he means private schools, and I disagree with this 1,000%. I think it's an absurd opinion, but it's his opinion, and that's fine. That they should be razed to the ground for, how did he put it? For making so much inequality. What would you say to that, Will? That private schools should be burnt to the ground for creating so much inequality?
Equality exists, whether private schools exist or not. It's natural. You've got people who are gifted sprinters, for example, or gifted mathematicians, and you're never going to equalize that. You can actually see this in the amount of funding that goes into getting different groups into different activities. There are some people that no matter what the resources and funding they're given can never excel at particular activities. There are other activities that come so naturally to people that they need no help whatsoever. There's never been a white 100-meter gold medalist over the last, I've forgotten the number of Olympic finals, but it's huge. I think every single finalist in the 100 meters had West African genetics for something like the last 100 years or so. About that, I have to look it up. That tells you that there's a natural inequality there physically.
Yeah.
People accept this. Like kids know it intuitively on sports day.
Yeah.
This also happens intellectually as well. There are some people who are just really bright, and you can work as hard as you want and you're never going to be their equal. Now, the question is, what do we do about this? On the left, you can't go too far in the pursuit of equality, even if that means using government power to ultimately kill people. That's what's happened in history.
Yeah.
But it's odd. If people want to buy a really expensive car or go on really expensive holidays, or if people want to find the best footballers for the Premier League, it doesn't seem to cause as much fuss as if someone wants to have a really elite educational institution and spend their money on that. It's strange. Elitism in sport, inequality in sport doesn't seem to get under people's skin as much. But imagine the Premier League if we said, no, equal opportunities, anyone's allowed to play. What would happen to the standard of the game?
Yeah, go down, way down.
Yep, exactly. It's good because it's elitist. Elitism is okay in sport. Everyone recognizes that. And in education, there are some institutions which are there to cater to that demand for the elite product.
Winston stopped writing. partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish,